live on Radio Row here in Phoenix, Arizona, Super Bowl 57, where the Chiefs will be taking on the Philadelphia Eagles this Sunday, 4:30 local kickoff time here. Both teams number one seeds. Both teams coming to the game with a 16-3 record. With me is a good friend of mine. Of course, you may read his work on NFL.com. You may also see him on the NFL Network. He is the one and only Jeff Chadiha. Jeff, what's going on with you, man?
Not much, brother. Good to see you again. I paid up my tab with you for the lunch you won, so you should be smiling and feeling good about life right now.
I want you to repeat that one more time.
Yeah.
What did you end up doing for me?
Yeah. We made a bet. Who would win between Buffalo and Cincinnati? I took the Bills. You took the Bengals.
I did.
I lost. Broke my winning streak. I never lost a bet to Darren in the last 3 years. And
well, we had a push. We had a push.
The Bengals with the Chiefs. That happened sooner or later.
And look, I'm glad it did, and it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. First thing, what is your role, or what are you going to be doing this week as work with the NFL Network as you prepare for the game Sunday?
Well, you come down here, you want to do a couple stories. You do a lot of this kind of stuff, interviews. I'm doing your show. I got a TV hit later today with my network, and you try to set the table for the game. And so it gets harder every year because there's so much stuff that goes into this game before, as far as media and promotion of it, that by the time you get to this week, you kind of start feeling like I've heard other questions. Not going to be any news. We know both teams will be buttoned down, but again, it's a great matchup, so that kind of drives it in its own right.
When the season started, who was your original? I know, but who was your original Super Bowl prediction or matchup that you thought you would see?
Packers, Bills.
Packers?
Well, they'd win the last 3 NFC Championship games.
Hold on.
Had the two-time reigning MVP. It wasn't like it was like a shot in the dark.
Well, hold on now. It's funny you said it because you always get on me about picking the Chiefs every year, and they've been hosting the NFC Championship game every year, and it's like, until said otherwise, why not? That's a safe pick.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think most.
I'm going to point that out because you always be getting me being a homer and stuff. I'm like, it ain't a homer. It's like they're just like they're the best team right now in this, for the most part in the AFC. So,
they won the AFC last year.
They were in the AFC last year.
Did they win the AFC?
No, they didn't. But what I'm saying,
Okay.
but hold on,
what are you saying?
Hold on, but you picked the Packers though.
Yeah,
and the Packers didn't even make it.
Yeah,
they didn't make the championship game last year.
Okay, that's fair.
See, I got you.
Yeah.
Okay, but be that the man. So, from what you've seen, where did you see it start going in the direction that we would see a Chiefs Eagles type matchup? And I'm pretty sure, as the season progressed, you could probably always see the Eagles getting here, the way that their style of play and just how they were separating themselves from everyone. But where did you see, I guess, maybe the season turnaround for the Chiefs that you would be like, okay, I could see them maybe making it to Phoenix for the Super Bowl?
It'd be when Joseph Osai pushed Patrick Mahomes out of bounds into a 15-yard penalty.
You try to have him do that double or nothing. Huh?
That's when I saw. I thought the Bills and the Bengals were a better team at the end of the regular season than the Chiefs. But I said going into the in the postseason, Chiefs would get here if Mahomes played out of his mind.
Yeah,
and so he's been playing out of his mind, and he's been playing hurt. He's been playing without key receivers, and he's done it every step of the way. And so that's what makes them scary in this game is, can they continue to do the same thing? Can they continue to have him perform at a high level against better competition?
I know we talked about some stuff over lunch, but where do you see, I guess, the X factor for you? Like where do you see it really coming down to between these two teams for one team to win over the other?
I say it all the time, man. This game, we'll talk about the quarterbacks all week, because they're quarterbacks. But this game is typically won in the trenches.
Yeah.
And so that, to me, is the X factor, who wins up front on the offensive line, on the defensive line. Because when you look at the Chiefs' last 2 Super Bowl trips, that was the biggest factor. They were able to protect him against the Niners' pass rush in Super Bowl 55, 54, and they won. At Super Bowl 55, it was a different story against the Buccaneers. And so that will, again, be the factor here.
Is there a particular matchup that interests you when you look at, I know, lunch, I thought it would be, depending on where Chris Jones line up, maybe he against Lane Johnson or something like that. I mean, is there a particular matchup that you're looking forward to seeing?
I think the units. I think the Philadelphia Eagles defensive line against the Chiefs offensive line will be
Right.
huge. I laugh because you go back a few weeks, wasn't that long ago. I'm old enough to remember the days when
Not
Andrew
old.
Wiley and Orlando Brown were whipping boys for Chiefs fans
Yeah.
week in and week out. And
Exactly.
so that to me is where the Chiefs have to really be strong. Those two tackles have to hold up against a really good edge rushers.
Yeah, and we did see, we were watching a little highlights. We did see Trent Williams, who's considered the best left tackle in football, kind of get pushed around in that game against the Eagles in the NFC Championship game. So no, I'm with you on that. Coaching though, I have my issues when it comes to play calling, when it comes to like not running the football enough. But how much of a factor, how important of a factor do you think that's going to be? I know you think it's going to come down to what's in the trenches, but the play calling and how the game ebbs and flows is going to be a big issue as well.
On both ends of it, yeah. I mean, I think both teams have a style they want to play. Both teams have a high level of confidence in their quarterbacks, and so yeah. I mean, I think the Chiefs have to run the ball effectively in this game. They have to be willing to do that. The way you slow down pass rush, great pass rush, running the football, screen game, quick game, all those things have to be in play. But the run game, especially because we all know Andy has never been somebody who's going to commit to that week in and week out. And they only ran for 34 yards against the Bengals last week in the championship game. So that's a big factor for them. And then on the flip side of it, the Eagles have a mobile quarterback, and mobile quarterbacks have traditionally given Steve Spagnuolo's defense problems because you have to. The numbers game becomes harder. It's harder to disguise coverage. It puts your pass rush on its heels, and so they have to find an answer for that Eagles running game, which is as diversified as it comes in this league.
Looking at a big picture, if the Chiefs lose, so let's look at it from Alexis' standpoint as it relates to Patrick.
Yeah.
Where does what's the narrative come out of it if this game, if he loses, he's 1-2 versus 2-1?
I don't think they're really. I mean, I understand that question. I know people are asking it. I think he's got a long career ahead of him. I think he'll win more championships. Um, I don't think he needs to be defined by what happens in this game. I think no matter if his career ended after this game, no matter how this game ended, he'd be a first ballot Hall of Famer based on what he's done already. He's been the best quarterback in the league over the last 5 years. He's been the best quarterback. I mean, Aaron Rodgers won MVP and stuff, but he certainly has been
From start to finish, essentially. Yeah.
Over that 5-year period. He's the guy who's done the most, and so you can't really take that away from him. And so it's not a horse race. He'll be fine, but I do understand that maybe that argument or that long running conversation about where he stands in the game may be a little bit tilted, but ultimately, I mean, he's a phenomenal quarterback. That's not going to change based on what happens tomorrow, on Sunday.
I'm curious, what is, for our audience, is there a particular matchup that we're not paying enough attention to that you think we ought to watch out for Sunday's game?
I feel like the offensive tackle matchup is huge with Wiley and Brown versus Hassan Reddick, Josh Sweat, and Brandon Graham. I'm curious to see how these rookie corners match up against A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith because they're a really underrated part of this team's success, and they've got great numbers.
Yeah. No, they're good. And then you think Kelsey's going to do well in his matchup?
We talked about this when we were having lunch. I'll be curious to see if they use James Bradbury, the Eagles corner, Pro Bowl corner, All Pro, whatever he is, All Pro corner, on Kelsey because the Giants, when he played for the Giants, used Bradbury to shadow Kelsey, and Kelsey wound up with 4 catches for 27 yards in that game. And so Kelsey's a phenomenal player.
But understatement.
But I think that's really the only way you can really have a chance against him is by having a bigger corner shadow him. Now, that would be a departure from what the Eagles usually do. But in this kind of game, sometimes you have to change up to win.
What do you feel like Patrick would need to do, to lead this team? I mean, does he need to play, as you mentioned before, out of this world to win this game, or does he?
He's got to keep doing what he's been doing. Yeah. And I think he's talked about this throughout the year. You've seen all his press conferences in terms of this year he's had to play within the offense in a way he didn't before.
Yeah.
In the past, he could Tyreek's out here, Travis is out here. All else fails, I'm looking for them because they're going to make a play for me. And the way this offense has been set up for him this year with less heralded people around him. He's had to be more about, okay, I'm going through my progressions, I'm going through my reads. I trust this guy to make a play, and he's put more unpredictability into this offense in that way. And so I think he's got to continue to do those things. I mean, it's guys who are as talented as he is, we sometimes take for granted they have to grow a little bit too.
Yeah.
You go back and watch Michael Jordan start of his career. He wasn't shooting jumpers the same way he shot them when he was in year 10, year 12. And so there's been little things that Mahomes has done that have made a great player even greater over the course of this year.
I want to ask you, I know you work for the network, and I know it's not your call on what gets discussed, but are you surprised by the lack of, I guess, recognition league-wide that Brett Veach doesn't get as in being executive of the year? Especially, you look at obviously trading Tyreek Hill in the offseason, and people thought the Chiefs were going to fall off, but the moves that he made, signing the 2 receivers and the draft capital and those draft picks paying off, as we saw the NFC Champion, and to get them back to where they are. And it seems like everybody, he doesn't get and I don't know if it's the Andy Reid effect to where, Eric Bieniemy's not getting the credit because they feel like Andy Reid's calling the plays, and maybe they feel like Andy Reid is pulling the strings behind Brett Veach. Are you surprised that you don't hear more talk? Because I thought if if the Chiefs got back to here, he would be a shoo-in for executive of the year with the moves that had to be made.
Well, I think it's a couple of things going on there. One is that Brett Veach is not somebody who's courting the spotlight, so he's not
correct
as visible as some other GMs are in this league. And two, I think the moves he made were very shrewd and very successful. But people pay more attention to when you trade. You trade a second overall pick at quarterback. They pay more attention when you're paying big money for all-pro receiver. That kind of stuff is always going to tilt the scales more for the people who are making those moves. And so, Philadelphia, for example, they did what the Rams did last year. They've gone all in. They really pick up Hassan Reddick, Bradbury, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, A.J. Brown. Like, those moves were splashy moves, and they've worked out, and they've gotten pretty far with it. The same thing, the Niners. They obviously 2 years ago traded for Trey Lance. Now that they go pick up McCaffrey, and those moves get people's attention.
Yeah.
But to your point, though, Beach has done a phenomenal job really turning the roster over and giving this team a chance to be back where they are.
Feel like picking a winner?
You know what? I feel like I'll pick one, but I feel like my pick is probably going to change every day based on how the news comes out. I like the Eagles right now. I mean, I go back to that. What happens in the trenches decides this game. I think they're better up front on both sides of the ball.
Now, I know we talked, and we both believe it's going to go down to maybe who has the ball last. So, I mean, do you expect a 3-7-point ball game, depending on, I think walk-off field goal or something?
I think this could be a lot like the last Super Bowl that was here, which was the Patriots and the Seahawks, which came down to Russell.
Instead of just run the football.
Because they'll go back and forth. They have their strength. I think both teams are used to having their moments of dominance.
Yeah.
But, I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think this is as even of a matchup as you can get in this game that I've seen in a long time.
Well, there you have it. This is Jeff Chadiha joining us. This segment is brought to you by TC Transportation KC. TC Transportation KC is a small, locally owned transportation business that can help transport you to local sporting events, concerts, pub crawls, and even great for wedding shuttles. They have 2 vehicles, including a minibus to hold 12 to 14 people in a transit van with limo-style seating that will also hold up to 10 to 12 people. Pricing starts at $125 an hour. Reach out for more information at 913-368-8461 or check their website at www.kctransportationkc.com. Jeff Chadiha, of course, remember you can watch him on the NFL Network. He'll probably be on all week. He's going to go do an NFL Network here now, so turn on the TV. You might be able to see him. And I'll see you at the game. Well, I'll see you before then, but I'll see you at the game Sunday.
See me tonight.
I'll see you.
Night.
I'll see you over there Monday night. Shut up, man. No, I don't have to. Sportsbook is here, so I just get on the phone. Actually, when I get off here, I'm gonna play. I got to play some bets. So thank you very much. None on the Chiefs though. I'm not gonna get in trouble. So all right. Thank you so much. We'll do.